Welcome to Gleaning Mustard Seeds with Jerrie Barber. Mr. Barber is a preacher, a ventriloquist, a barefoot runner, and writes 2 blogs. When Jerrie communicates, he encourages people, try not to learn very much. Find a mustard seed. In the next few minutes, try not to learn very much. Look for something you can do to move a mountain, remove a stumbling block, or provide a stepping stone for yourself or someone else. And now, here's Jerrie with this week's mustard seed.
Last week, we introduced the concept of family systems. Murray Boeing was the originator of that concept. Edwin Friedman, a Jewish rabbi, individual, and family therapist, built on his works, wrote a book called Generation to Generation, which incidentally, beside the Bible, is probably the most valuable work for my ministry that I have ever read. After him came Peter Steinke and wrote a number of books. I say Murray Boeing started it, Edwin Friedman made it a little simpler, and Peter Steinke wrote it so most people could understand it. Edwin Friedman gives 5 basic concepts of family systems. We're going to take a week on each one of these. The first one is what he calls the identified patient. I like to put a question to each one of these, and my question for this one is, what's wrong with him or us? Often a family will name one of its members the black sheep, and as long as a family can keep a black sheep in the family, it makes it a lot easier on everybody else, because we can always blame the problems on the black sheep and the rest of us don't have to change. Many times a congregation will pick a person or a group and label him or them as the problem. If we could only fix the problem or we could convert the black sheep, then the family of the church would be okay. However, the concept of family system says if a situation is chronic, if the symptoms are recurring or of long duration, it's not the fault of one person. It's because the family likes it that way. The family likes it the way it is more than the pain it would take to change it. Edwin Friedman, in the first chapter of his book, explained the concept of the identified patient. Here's what he wrote. The family member with the obvious symptom is not to be seen as the sick one, but as the one in whom the family stress or pathology has surfaced. Physicians don't assume the part of a human organism in pain or failing to act properly is necessarily the cause of its own distress. Problems in any organ may relate to the excessive overfunctioning, underfunctioning, or dysfunctioning of another. By keeping the focus on one of its members, the family, personal or congregational, can deny the very issues that contributed to making one of its members symptomatic, even if it ultimately harms the entire family. A person comes to the doctor with yellow skin. I doubt very seriously the doctor's saying, well, you need to call the Avon lady. She's got some makeup that can change the color of your skin. No, the skin's not the problem. The skin is revealing in the system, in the body, something that's wrong. Although the color of the skin is yellow, it didn't begin in the skin. My father, John T. Barber, had a heart attack in 1981, had bypass surgery. He really advertised. He said he felt better than he had in 20 years and encouraged everybody to get a good bypass surgery. 17 years later, we were in the Smoky Mountains, and he asked Gail, who is our family doctor. I don't read about illnesses. I get every disease I read about. He said, Gail, here lately my jaw has been hurting. Could that have anything to do with my heart? And she said, yes, you better get it checked out. That was on the weekend. Monday, he called the doctor and said, I think I need to have an arteriogram. He went to Nashville on Tuesday, got an arteriogram, had his second bypass surgery on Wednesday. His jaw was hurting, but he didn't need to see the dentist. It was a heart problem. Often when I'm consulting with congregations, the identified patient is leadership. They say, our problem is lack of leadership. I often ask, how long has this been going on? And generally they say for years. Here's my observation. A church has the leaders it wants. It has the leaders it's trained, prayed for, encouraged, and tolerate. It's too late to be concerned about the quality of leadership 2 weeks before the time to appoint elders and deacons. A series of lessons from 1 Timothy 3 and Titus 1 won't make up for years of neglect in making disciples of Jesus. It's too late to be concerned 2 weeks before the appointment of additional leadership. Paul describes how the body is connected and how members affect each other in 1 Corinthians 12:26. He said, if one member suffers, all the members suffer with it. Or if one member is honored, all the members rejoice with it. We rarely have an individual problem of long duration. It's a family problem. And when we fail to recognize this, we may fix the problem, the identified patient. But if the family doesn't change, the symptoms will resurface in the same patient or another because forces that contributed to the problem are still there. Do you know of a congregation that's fired most of its preachers? Who selects the preachers? Who interacts with the preachers, encourages preachers, and discourages preachers? Are they consistently choosing bad preachers? Who did that? Do they select good preachers, and good preachers become bad preachers after they arrive? Will you solve the problem by choosing another bad preacher or a good preacher who will be micromanaged or ignored and criticized until he leaves? We need to ask the same question about leadership. Who selects leaders? Who encourages elders and deacons in their work? Does the group approve or say nothing when unqualified men are considered? Do men in the congregation begin to criticize and question the motive of anyone appointed to leadership? How long has it been since many people or the group expressed sincere, specific, and sustained appreciation to the leaders individually and as a group? I heard Ira North say one time, we'll put a man in an ice house and then cuss him out for not sweating. If a church has a leadership deficiency, I wonder why they like it that way. In his book, Healthy Congregations, Peter Steinke gives 2 quotes about this principle. He said, Sir William Osler said, it is more important to know what sort of patient has the disease than what sort of disease the patient has. Peter Senge said, the healthy society, like the healthy body, is not the one that has taken the most medicine. It is the one in which the internal health-building force is in the best shape. When the problem has been in a church, family, business, or softball team for years, a good question for the group is, I wonder why we like it that way, and would we be willing to endure the pain to change it? And that is to change us. We can ask what's wrong with him, or we can ask how can we change to make him and the rest of us and the entire group better. And more specifically, what can I do to make the group better?
Thank you for listening to Gleaning Mustard Seeds with Jerrie Barber. If you found a mustard seed, send a text or email with the link to a friend. This podcast was brought to you by Jerrie's book, Between Preachers, You Can Grow Through Interim Ministry. Dale Jenkins wrote in the introduction, while Jerrie has written the only book I know by a member of the Church of Christ on interim ministry, the excellent principles in this book could be used as a book on healthy moving or healthy leader-minister relations, or a book for every Christian on healthy living. I'd encourage you to get one for every elder you know. You can order your book from Amazon. There will be a link in the show notes. Thank you for listening. Jerrie looks forward to next week as we continue to collect and plant mustard seeds.